Hi, automotive enthusiasts. Welcome to Cam and Crank, where today we're diving headfirst into the legend of the Lamborghini Diablo, the 1990s supercar that stormed out of Sant'Agata, shocked the industry, and sent shivers through Ferrari's boardrooms. This isn't just a list of specs or a dry history lesson. It's the story of ambition, risk, and a raging bull that dared to challenge a dynasty. Picture the late 1980s. Ferrari ruled the exotic car world with an iron fist. Its 512 TR and F40 captivating fans, while Lamborghini, despite its Miura and Countach heritage, was wobbling financially and creatively. Then Chrysler stepped in, injecting fresh capital and discipline to revive the brand. Out of that gamble came the Diablo, a machine built not just to go fast, but to redefine what a supercar could be. Its 200 motto buddy promise wasn't marketing fluff. It was a declaration of war. Over the next 25 minutes, you'll hear how a company on the ropes engineered a V12 monster that stunned test drivers, forced Ferrari into an arms race, and reshaped the supercar battlefield for decades. This video will trace the Diablo's birth under corporate turmoil, the shocking innovations that made it more than a flashy wedge, and the cultural aftershocks that still influence Lamborghini's image today. By the end, you'll see why this car wasn't just a 90s icon, but a turning point that elevated the entire Lamborghini lineage. Buckle up, because we're about to relive the drama, the triumphs, and the high-speed duels that made the Diablo unforgettable. And along the way, you might discover that the car's biggest legacy isn't its speedometer reading, but the way it forever changed the expectations of every supercar that followed. The Lamborghini Diablo's story ignites with desperation and bold vision. Sant'Agata's survival depended on a car that could rewrite its future. And that urgency set the stage for extraordinary decisions. Micro-story. In 1987, Chrysler took over Lamborghini, a move many enthusiasts feared would dilute Italian passion with corporate pragmatism. Yet Chrysler's engineers respected the brand's spirit and funneled money into a daring V12 project. Knowing that without reinvention, Lamborghini might fade into obscurity. Micro-story. Designer Marcello Gandini, the genius behind the Countach, initially crafted an even wilder shape. But Chrysler's execs thought it too extreme. They softened the lines without losing the menace, proving that even rebels sometimes compromise to survive. Micro-story. When the Diablo finally debuted in 1990, its 5.7-liter V12 thundered to 492 horsepower, and the world gasped as it crossed the 200-milliliter barrier, becoming the fastest production car on Earth, a badge that immediately demanded Ferrari's attention. Context digest. By the late 80s, Ferrari's 512 TR was the benchmark. Powerful, elegant, and backed by Formula One pedigree. But its top speed lagged behind the Diablo's figures, a dangerous gap in a world where bragging rights defined sales. Context digest. Lamborghini's finances were fragile. Chrysler's stake gave it breathing room, but every misstep could have sunk the company, making the Diablo's success not just thrilling but essential. Reflection bridge. That pressure explains why Lamborghini obsessed over every detail, from aerodynamics to interior comfort, to ensure the Diablo wasn't just fast but livable. The Diablo's arrival didn't merely compete, it rattled Ferrari's dominance, prompting engineers in Maranello to rethink their next moves. Micro-story. Test drivers described the Diablo as both terrifying and exhilarating, a car that punished sloppy inputs but rewarded precision. Journalists wrote of its unrelenting acceleration that turned highways into runways. Context digest. The Diablo's raw, analog driving experience stood in contrast to emerging electronic aids in other brands, making it a purist's dream but a novice's nightmare. Reflection bridge. Its unapologetic nature became part of its mythos, drawing thrill seekers who wanted the most unfiltered supercar experience. Micro-story. When Lamborghini introduced the Diablo VT in 1993 with all-wheel drive, it signaled a shift. The Bull could evolve for real-world usability without losing its ferocity. Context digest. The Diablo's high price and limited production created exclusivity that amplified its desirability, and sightings on US roads became instant events. Micro-story. Owners like professional athletes and celebrities turned the Diablo into a pop culture icon, plastering it on bedroom posters and music videos, embedding it into 90s car culture. Context digest. Meanwhile, Ferrari accelerated development on the F50, unwilling to cede the performance crown. Setting up a rivalry that fueled media hype and collector passion, The Diablo's surge through the early 90s wasn't the end of the story. It was only the first wave of shock that would force the entire supercar world to raise its game. With the bull's roar echoing through Maranello's halls, the stage was set for an escalating showdown that would redefine the era. Ferrari's response to the Diablo's dominance wasn't just defensive, it was a calculated effort to reclaim its aura of invincibility. And that tension electrified the supercar world. Micro-story. Inside Maranello, engineers fast-tracked updates to the 512TR and quietly nurtured the F50 project, aiming for a machine that could outpace and outshine Lamborghini's star. The Diablo had forced Ferrari to admit that the throne could be shaken. Context digest. The early 1990s saw supercar buyers becoming more discerning, demanding not only speed but refinement. Ferrari knew its next flagship had to balance brute force with finesse to avoid looking outdated. Reflection bridge. That evolving customer expectation would push both brands to innovate in ways that reshaped their futures. Micro-story. Lamborghini didn't sit still either. Special editions like the Diablo SE30 and Diablo SV showcased sharper tuning, reduced weight, and racing-derived tweaks, turning the Diablo into a track-capable beast without abandoning its road manners. Context digest. These variants weren't just marketing stunts. They demonstrated Lamborghini's maturing engineering discipline under Chrysler's guidance. A critical step in proving the brand's staying power. Micro-story. The Diablo GT2 race car's appearances in endurance events, though limited, symbolized Lamborghini's intent to be taken seriously in motorsport, a realm Ferrari had long dominated. Context digest. While the Diablo's celebrity cachet made headlines, its influence on industry design language quietly spread. Its wedge profile, scissor doors, and muscular stance inspired rivals and copycats alike. Reflection bridge. By pushing aesthetic boundaries and performance limits, Lamborghini elevated expectations for all supercars, creating a ripple effect that reached even Porsche and McLaren. Micro-story. Automotive magazines of the mid-90s loved staging Ferrari versus Lamborghini face-offs, and the Diablo frequently emerged as the more visceral choice, even if Ferrari retained an edge in polish. These comparisons fueled fan debates and cemented the Diablo's legend. Context digest. The Diablo's real-world drivability improvements, from air conditioning that actually worked to revised suspensions, helped Lamborghini shed its reputation for beautiful but impractical exotics. Micro-story. When the Diablo VT Roadster arrived in 1995, it combined drop-top glamour with all-wheel traction, making it one of the most desirable supercars of its decade. Context digest. Competitors took notice. Ferrari refined its car's ergonomics. Porsche doubled down on all-wheel drive tech for the 911 Turbo, and even newcomers like McLaren F1 benchmarked aspects of the Diablo's speed. Micro-story. As the decade closed, the Diablo SV and VT 6.0 kept the car fresh, even as ownership of Lamborghini shifted to Audi in 1998, ensuring the brand would enter the new millennium on a solid footing. Context digest. The Diablo had started as a desperate gamble, but now stood as proof that Lamborghini could evolve under different masters without losing its soul. The rivalry that Diablo ignited had transformed the supercar arena into a proving ground, where no brand could rest on heritage. Alone, with the bull charging into a new century, its echoes would reverberate long after the Diablo itself left production, leading us to the lasting legacy it carved into automotive history. The Diablo's legacy isn't confined to nostalgia. It actively shaped the modern supercar landscape that we see today. Micro-story. When Audi took full control of Lamborghini in 1998, they inherited not just a brand, but a car that had redefined expectations. Audi's engineers studied the Diablo's strengths and weaknesses, using its lessons to craft the Murcielago, which blended German precision with Italian flair. Context digest. The Murcielago's refinement and build quality marked a turning point. Lamborghini could now match Ferrari not only in speed, but also in reliability and usability, something the Diablo's bold but raw nature had highlighted as a challenge. Reflection bridge. Without the Diablo proving Lamborghini's potential, Audi might not have invested so deeply in transforming the brand. Micro-story. The Diablo also left a cultural imprint. Posters, video games, and music videos immortalized its shape and attitude. making it the definitive 90s exotic for a generation that grew up idolizing supercars. Context Digest. Its role in pop culture wasn't just superficial hype. It cemented Lamborghini as a household name in markets where Ferrari once reigned alone, influencing everything from toy manufacturers to Hollywood car chases. Microstory. In collector circles, early Diablos with clean histories have surged in value, as enthusiasts recognize them as the last truly analog Lamborghinis before electronic aids became standard. Their climbing prices testify to their enduring significance. Context Digest. This surge in collectability has inspired restorations and preservation efforts, ensuring that more Diablos remain on the road as rolling reminders of the 90s supercar wars. Microstory. The Diablo's uncompromising spirit even influenced competitors. Ferrari's subsequent Enzo adopted a more aggressive design philosophy, while brands like Pagani and Koenigsegg embraced daring styling and performance that echoed the Diablo's audacity. Context Digest. Beyond styling, the Diablo reminded automakers that emotional appeal could be as vital as numbers on a spec sheet, a lesson that continues to shape marketing and design strategies. Reflection Bridge. The Diablo's thunderous V12 and unforgettable stance weren't just sensory delights. They were proof that passion-driven engineering could still shake an industry dominated by caution. Microstory. Lamborghini's current flagship, the Aventador, carries direct DNA from the Diablo. From its proportions to its commitment to a naturally aspirated V12, a lineage that keeps the Bull's legacy alive even in an era of hybrid hypercars. Context Digest. The Aventador's global success underscores how the Diablo's breakthrough elevated Lamborghini from a struggling boutique to a permanent rival of Ferrari and McLaren. Microstory. Even as electrification looms, designers reference the Diablo when imagining future Lamborghinis, ensuring that its rebellious character informs cars decades removed from its 1990 debut. Context Digest. Car culture historians often credit the Diablo with bridging the wild experimentation of the Countach era and the sophisticated, high-tech age of modern supercars. The Diablo's roar may have faded from showrooms, but its influence reverberates in every showdown between top-tier exotics today. The Bull that terrified Ferrari ultimately elevated the entire supercar game, and its spirit charges forward in every V12 Lamborghini that follows. The Lamborghini Diablo saga is more than a highlight reel of 1990s excess. It's a reminder that audacity can rescue a brand, reshape an industry, and capture the imagination of an entire generation. From its birth amid financial uncertainty and corporate takeover, to its 200 record-shattering debut that rattled Ferrari, to the escalating arms race it triggered across the supercar landscape, the Diablo proved that risk-taking could pay off spectacularly. It wasn't flawless. Its early handling quirks and Spartan ergonomics showed Lamborghini's limits at the time, but those very flaws gave it character and urgency. When Audi later polished Lamborghini's formula, it was building on the credibility the Diablo earned at impossible odds. Today, every Aventador and Huracan carries echoes of that wedge-shaped thunderbolt, and every collector's auction where a pristine Diablo crosses the block reaffirms its status as a cultural and engineering milestone. Automotive culture itself evolved because of cars like this. Rivalries grew fiercer, expectations for usability rose, and the idea that a supercar could be both terrifying and aspirational became mainstream. Even Ferrari fans, grudgingly or not, acknowledged that the Diablo forced Maranello to work harder and dream bolder. So the next time you see a Diablo's scissor doors slice upward, remember you're looking at more than 90s nostalgia. You're seeing the moment a raging bull proved it could run with and sometimes outrun the prancing horse. Thanks for riding with us on Cam and Crank. See you next time, automotive enthusiasts.